Uh, Peter, not sure if you can hear me, but if you can, one of the announcements coming out, I wasn't going to do it on this one, but I guess I can for your benefit anyway, is the USSE, so US soil exclusive. We launched it. If you still have that need for your client, we have it.
Yeah, awesome. Yes, we do. We've just been handling those internally, but we'd like to go back and then yep, sounds
Yeah,
good.
so I can talk about it in full detail with you. I'll tease it, I guess, a little bit on this meeting, but anytime you're ready to have that conversation, we can do that.
Great, thanks.
It's like, come on, I'm like, great, I don't have to wait to talk to him. He's already here.
uh,
Richard, always love when video's on. Always, just making sure you know the call recording's on so other people will see your face. So it's up to you, just so you know. But I like it. Anyone else who wants to turn on the camera doesn't mind that the camera's being recorded. I'm all in. I find it to be a better conversation, even though it'll be more of a presentation today. Still always love the interaction. All right, giving 1 extra minute for people to come in, and then we'll get started. So I guess I can tease this a little.
Where are you located, Jason?
Toronto. So you'll find the happiest of happy people here now because it's warm and it's summer.
It's gorgeous out
the
there today.
Say, yeah.
We're out in Stratford.
Oh, neighbors.
Hop, skip, and a jump,
Yeah.
except for the ridiculous traffic in between.
Yes, for sure.
My commute into work is this sailing down a country road, and I got maybe a cow or a cyclist or a combine that I got to navigate. But it's a 20-minute of just right into work.
Yeah. Well, I would say, like, if I were to drive downtown without the traffic, it's a 20-minute drive, right? As soon as you put the traffic in there, forget about it.
I used to live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I worked at the top end of the pinwheel, the north end, and I lived at where 285, I think 85 intersect. That would be the northeast side, and that little trip across there took me 45 minutes there and 45 minutes back, and everybody was angry on that road. It was just horrific. That's coming straight from Toronto in 1995, and Toronto wasn't beautiful, but if you lived in town, which I lived in Scarborough and worked in Scarborough, it wasn't a big deal. It was 10-minute drive and not an issue.
All right, we still have some people coming in, but I think it's time to get started. Don't want to make anyone wait. First of all, thank you everyone for attending today. We had a bunch of people that did attend. Oh, sorry, that did register and couldn't attend. If you have to hop off, anyone registered will get the recording. This call is being recorded. I mentioned earlier, if you turn on your camera, I love cameras. I love personal dialogue, and there will be Q&A at the end for cameras on. But please do just remember that we are being recorded today. As I'm going, feel free to ask questions. We do have the chat available in Zoom for you to ask questions. If you ask a question, you can ask it publicly or privately to me directly. If you put it publicly, obviously everyone can see it. It would be for anyone's benefit. Privately, only I will see it, and I'll try to address them as we go. Otherwise, I think you're all pretty familiar with how Zoom works because we've been doing this since COVID times, so I'm not going to skip most of this stuff as far as the housekeeping goes. Today, I've got a few things to kind of tease at you and a major demo to show you folks. Working extremely hard, mostly based on feedback. As we obviously do our jobs, we get feedback from our partners or from potential partners, or even just MSP in the community that want to give feedback on how we're doing things. So pretty well everything I'm going to show you today is a thank you to you and a tribute to your. That said, we've got a lot to go through, so let me do that. I'm going to tease it first. Leave you guys with a few things that we are unveiling. You are all going to get an email in the next 24 hours with a summary of all these new wonderful things. if any of the things that we talk about today in the teaser or in the email are not the subject of this particular webinar, please feel free to just ask about them, okay? But just as a quick summary, the things we're launching, and mentioned it to Peter quick earlier, USSE, that's what we're calling it. USSE stands for US Soil Exclusive. If you have clientele who have compliance requirements that need US soil folks to deal with and US infrastructure to deal with those clients, whether it be for compliance purposes or even just preferences, we now have a way to offer it. It's done, it's launched, so let us know have those requirements. That doesn't mean all of your customers need it. We also have a way to separate if your clientele, some don't need that and some do require the USSE. So very much tailored to the need of you and your clientele. Today, we're going to talk about Service Coordinator as a service. I'm very excited to go through that. So obviously that'll be the bulk of what we talk about today. We have also launched a way to do service without MSP integration with the PSA. Super excited about this because we've had a lot of MSPs that come to us that don't have a PSA yet, or that have a PSA that doesn't do the integration. Don't get me wrong, if you have a PSA that can integrate with our bridge, you're in much better shape. It's definitely the way to go, but if you can't, or you don't have a PSA yet, or you're in between, we can now offer the service, which is very, very exciting. I'm going to go through also on a different call later on next week. We've got our Ninja ticket integration done, and we've got Super Ops coming in September. So if any of those are part of your either roadmap or you're already on it and you've been waiting for us to launch those integrations, Ninja is done, works perfectly, and the Super Ops integration is coming. So now that I've teased you a little bit, let's talk about Service Coordinator as a service. Again, for those joining us a little bit late, just so you know, call is being recorded. You'll be able to go back. And if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Again, you can ask questions publicly for everyone's benefit or privately. So I want to talk a little bit about how Mission Control does our coordinator service internally first, so you guys get a little bit of an understanding. We have a tool that we built internally that you guys may or may not be aware of. For partners that use us, the term liftoff will be a familiar term to you. Liftoff is the tool that an MSP uses when they log in. They can customize the way we do our work for an MSP. You get to decide everything about how we do what we do. If we take calls, what we're supposed to do with those calls, if it's during business hours, if it's after hours, if it's certain priorities, if it's a VIP, if it's for a help desk issue, a knock issue, you get to decide all of these things. And inside of Liftoff is where you configure our rules for how we do our work, certain instructions that might be client specific. It's where you decide business hours for a client of when we're allowed to call them. I mean, it's literally a massive portal of all the different options that you can set for the way we would service individual clients, individual people within those clients, and the service rules overall. That's what the MSP sees. Internally on the Mission Control side, whenever a ticket comes to us, our coordinators are the first team that look at it. We actually kind of have three, let's say, departments that you'd ever deal with that are not, let's say, account management. You'd have the technicians. So we offer help desk, knock, those kinds of technical services. So you'd be familiar with those. We offer dispatch service, which is us taking the call and making that ticket. And those two we've had for a very long time. But the third piece is the coordinator piece. And to date, the coordinators have always been a back of the house thing that Mission Control had for ourselves. Any ticket that ever came to us, the coordinators get first. And it doesn't matter even if our dispatch team were the ones that take that call and make the ticket, because when we make a ticket, we always make the ticket in the MSPs, in your PSA, never in our systems. We make the ticket in your system. And based on the rules of what we're supposed to work, when we're supposed to work, that ticket would come over to us or not. We may be taking a phone call that we're supposed to take the call, make the ticket, and give to your team. But the rules may also be for that scenario, for that client, for that time of day, that ticket priority, whatever, that we're supposed to take the call, make the ticket in your PSA, and then we're actually supposed to do the work. Okay, so even if we take a phone call and make the ticket, for the ones we're supposed to work, those tickets are going to come over to us. But we also may get tickets from an end user who sent you in an email to your support that made a ticket in your PSA, an RMM alert, any kind of ticket that would ever show up in your PSA is a potential ticket you might send over to us. And when it comes over to us, the coordinator group internally at Mission Control sees this list of tickets of all the MSPs that have come in to send us you know, if you sent us 3 tickets, you'd have 3 tickets, but they might have come in their order in between different MSPs that have sent us other tickets. You can imagine the list. And every ticket is going to be different. One's going to be for client X of MSP Y, that's for a password reset. And the next one is for end user B, who is for MSP C, that has a whole different scenario, right? Sometimes I get the question, how in the world do you guys do what you do? This is literally how we do it. So we've got this massive list of the tickets that we've got to deal with that have come in the last few minutes, seconds, whatever it is. And the first thing that has to happen is we have to review that ticket to make sure that we can service it. Sometimes we'll get a ticket for, and again, I'm using mission control cases, but we might get a ticket for a cabling job for an MSP, which is obviously something we can't do. We need to make sure that gets back to the right people. If we get a ticket for a password reset, as an example, well, that's pretty urgent because that user can't work. So not only is it something we can service, but there's a bunch of details in there. We need to make sure that we can get access to the right person. So the contact is correct, the priority is correct. Obviously, we know it's a password reset, but for what system is that reset for? Is it for Office 365 or a domain or whatever? And then because it's urgent, we've got to get escalated SLA on that. That's just an example, right? Another one might be, I'm just looking at one right now. So a user can't print. Okay, so user can't print. Is that a, so that's user A at MSPB, but that end user cannot print. Now, is that a medium priority by default? It's just somebody can't print and maybe they have another printer, or maybe it's the check payroll printer and it's payroll day and it becomes more urgent. So our coordinator team, excuse me, is going to review all of these tickets and make sure that everything is right. Because we have to service. If we don't have the information to service, let's say it was sent in by an HR person. The HR person says, Sally can't do whatever she's supposed to do. Sally can't log in. Well, then the ticket contact needs to be changed. But by default, that ticket contact would have been wrong. So all these things need to be reviewed. Sorry. Once it's reviewed, then we know we can service it. So the coordinator piece of, in my opinion, every MSP is either going to have a service coordinator as full-time staff, or they're doing it themselves, or they're looking to have that now finally as a service. So if I show you just a quick example of how we do things, and this is kind of a demo, but not a demo. See if I can show you this. I hope this is going to work. Can you guys see the intake? Somebody give me a nod. Richard? I see can. Okay, great. So this is for different MSPs with different end users with different situations. This we know is an incident as opposed to a request. This is a help desk issue as opposed to a knock issue. This is an auto task. I mean, for you, it wouldn't matter. But this is an auto task using MSP versus a ConnectWise MSP. This is marked as a junior tech level requirement, whereas this is an intermediate. Let me just stop right there. We absolutely need to know what qualification technical skill level requirements are required to service this ticket, because I don't want an intermediate technician to get a senior level ticket and not be able to do it. Same thing, I can't give a junior level technician an intermediate level ticket. It's just a waste of time. So we triage the technical skill level requirement and assign our technicians to have certain skill level requirements. So when they ask the system for tickets, they only get the right ones. We can understand the priority, but of course we can review it and then understand what we need to do with it. So we can either schedule the ticket, we can escalate the ticket, we can email somebody right away, send it to a particular person, and then of course we can dial them out if we need to. The details of the ticket themselves is obviously in the ticket, but the review portion of the ticket, if I go take a look at any particular ticket, we need to understand all the properties of ticket validation. So just as an example, is this for a technical ticket, or maybe it's for procurement or something else? Let's say it was a technical ticket. And let's say that it's an incident. I don't know why the display is like that, but it's saying, is the ticket for something that was working and not working? So is it an incident or a request? This is the default priority. Is that correct or not? Is it a request for permission? So this is a phone line issue. Obviously, we don't have much detail on this, but maybe it was a permission thing where we need to ask either somebody internal at the MSP or somebody higher up at the company. Is this person allowed to do this? and then they would get authorization requests. And then we have questions like verifying the issue type and sub-issue type. And I'm lifting up the hood a little bit for how we do things, but you get the idea. We want to understand what is the technical skill level, junior, intermediate, or senior, which you saw. We want to understand, do we need to speak to the user, or maybe we can just do this in the background? Is it for an email password reset or a new user creation or a user termination? Is this the right person? So there's a whole bunch of information just to give you an idea of what has to go into verifying a ticket. I find that any MSP that would use a process like this would be far more successful. But if they're just the type of organization where tickets just go to anybody, you end up with a lot more phone tag, a lot more back and forth, so to speak. You end up in situations where the ticket doesn't get serviced right the first time. And I'll go back to that screen share in a minute. If you guys are taking notes, I don't mind to share that again. But you end up with a lot more of the back and forth, incomplete, phone tag, things not getting done, far more technical touches, far more escalations internal to different departments. So it goes to the junior guy, then it goes to the intermediate. Because there's a lot of stuff like that. Okay. So the service coordinator piece is very important. Also, from a scheduling perspective, if you're scheduling people, to have that done right. If you are needing to coordinate's not the term I want to use, but if you're using coordinating between the different people, so let's say you've got 5 different technicians, which one is the most appropriate? Okay, so what our service coordinator department is intended to do is to be able to supplement your in-house service coordinator if you have one, or to take that position if it's vacant. In other words, you need that to be done by somebody and it's not being done today. So that makes sense. If you have somebody in-house, this is something that you would be able to turn on and off at a moment's notice. We've got it done through Liftoff. We've got it done through Launchpad. I'll talk about Launchpad in a minute. And we've got it done through email and through Teams integration. You simply send us an email with a certain word in it. So it's like toggle coordinator on, turns it on. So we've got a few different ways to be able to turn it on. You can obviously log into the portal if you're already in there and just turn it on, turn it off. Because you might have somebody that goes on lunch. You might have somebody who's sick that day. You might have somebody who's taking vacation. So you want to maybe have redundancy for them. And then after hours, you can just have the rule that's turning it on and off. In Liftoff, as I mentioned earlier, if you're already a partner with us, you're familiar with the rules engine. And the rules engine is the tool that allows you to make automatic rules of how Mission Control does our service. Like if it's a new ticket and it was created within these time windows, let's say if it was after hours, and it was critical or high priority, and it was for a VIP and an end, then do whatever. So you'll be able to also have, and then auto triage to whatever, okay? Our actions by default tend to be, in our beta testing of this, the testing is usually resulted in, when the ticket is done, assigned to Mission Control. When the ticket is done, when I say done, I mean verified and reviewed and ready for service. So number 1 is assign the ticket to Mission Control. Number 2 is assigned to one of your technicians always. Number 3 is assigned to your text based on calendar bookings. So if you're using something like TimesS, Microsoft Bookings, Calendly, any of those for your staff, we can use those as well to pick the time for them. We obviously don't know your staff, so we wouldn't know unless you're using Launchpad, which again, I'll talk about in a minute. But by default, out of the box, if we don't have a relationship yet, we wouldn't know your technicians and their skill availability. So we rely on calendar bookings like that. But that's kind of our takeaways to the coordinator service. So that way, every ticket we know is either reviewed for service, we know it's serviceable, and we're giving it to somebody to service, or we know it's not serviceable, somebody's getting it back quickly so that we can get the missing information that we need. And that's the point. That's service coordinator. I'll talk about Launchpad in a minute. Want to open this up to initial questions because I know that a lot of the stuff I'm talking about is probably triggering ideas and things, how it all works. So feel free to start throwing them out either verbally. I did make this a meeting, not a webinar, so you guys can unmute yourselves to ask questions. Alternatively, you can put it in the chat. No,
I'm curious about pricing. So, I'm sure you'll get into that at some point, but it definitely sounds intriguing. So,
I'll get into it for sure. Okay. Anyone else? I see some people unmuting, so I want to give a chance to.
Yeah, so in terms of going through the process for the service, kind of average, how much time does it take for a person to go through that with a service?
You're talking like per ticket?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. Like, we've kind of chopped it up into 3 different categories. The first is a ticket review is straightforward. And there's and either a rule is in place to automatically handle it, or there's no rule, but the outcome is obvious. So, you know, printer can't print. Questions about the urgency of that. But let's say password reset. I find that to be far more, especially if it says email password reset, something like that. We know what the outcome of that is. And hopefully there's a rule that's going to tell us, okay, we need to bring it to this person, or we need to, you know, take it into mission control. So we know what the outcome is. That's the first one. That's going to be far quicker. The second one is where we don't necessarily know what to do. And then to add on to that is, once we finally know what to do, is the action to follow. So the action to follow is we need to contact somebody at the MSP to get approvals, to hand it off. Then we're trying to reach somebody by phone. If it's just an email, it's obviously quicker. We can probably automate some of that. So it's the time to take, we've guesstimated at anywhere from, you know, 1 to 2 minutes all the way up to 6 to 10. It just kind of depends on, and that's why, like, when it comes to pricing, Kevin, the pricing, we're going to kind of average it out. We're just going to have it as a per ticket thing, because it would be like, if I started having different prices for different scenarios, it would just be insane. That's a good question. So anywhere from a couple to several, but less than 10.
Thank you.
And the amount of time for it to get to us is pretty instant, right? All this stuff is done by webhook integrations. So from the time that a ticket gets, you know, if coordinator mode is on, tickets are going to come to us pretty instantly.
So just sorry, real quick. I maybe missed part of the conversation around this too, but in general, tickets come in and you guys are acting more or less as like, how do we assign them? Who's assigning the ticket to the particular workload, etc. Is in general just meant to be like having a CSM in place over, or like I guess a high level manager over the ticket operations above the technicians then? Is like just in a nutshell?
Well, yeah. So I don't believe in, I don't believe that an MSP should have, okay. If you have a direct to tech model, let's talk about that as a principle first. If you have a direct to tech model, you, in my opinion, have a likelihood of wasting your tech's time, because you're not guaranteed to have, in fact, you're almost guaranteed not to have in many cases, the correct skill level technician. And you're not guaranteed to have all the information. So it's possible you're having a highly skilled and appropriately paid, highly skilled individual to spend the time to log into your systems, get the information for a ticket, realize they don't have what they need, and then we're into a back and forth situation where now we got to go get that information. I should have given the ticket to a lesser or more qualified person so that person didn't spend their time, etc. So the direct to tech model for me, without some sort of triage first, in my opinion, doesn't make sense. This idea is, if you have tickets coming in, somebody should be reviewing these tickets to make sure they are ready for service. In fact, when Mission Control first launched very, very long ago, we did not have this coordinated department. We would have the dispatch teams, the ones that answer the calls, also be the ones to review the tickets. But really, that review process wasn't anything like this. It was just, you know, is the ticket matching, and off we go. And what we found, just like any MSP, is that the technicians were wasting their time. We had so much back and forth. We had far more pick and choose, by the way. So there was a lot of stuff in there where the efficiency of the business went down to what it could have been. Having, in our case, these are not technical people. So in having non-techs, but people that understand the IT and MSP service world, review the tickets ahead of time, made sure that, even just think about like the technical skill level requirement, just something that's small, because that's not a ticket property, right? A ticket property is like issue type, sub-issue type, and priority to whatever levels you want. But a value to, well, we call it junior, intermediate, and senior, but that required technical skill level of setting that ahead of time means I'll never have an intermediate person touch a senior level ticket. I'll never have a junior person touch an intermediate level ticket, because in direct to tech, almost always it goes to the junior. And in most cases, either way, that ticket may not be appropriate for that person. So I've now eliminated 90+% of all my internal escalations. Just by that.
Yep. That makes sense. So it's more like a service coordinator.
It's exactly service coordinator. So this is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So in general, like, and I don't mean to dominate the conversation here, but in general, you're having somebody log tickets who's now familiar with the company. They understand like who your client is, what type of service requirement is needed at every level. They're essentially in a place where, aside from owning a client relationship, they're understanding that client better and better. Is it really like hands-on though, where that one person is very familiar with client A, client B, client C, or do you kind of like exchange between client A, B, and C, now have interactions with whoever is best available from mission control, or they assigned out?
Well, again, so we may not be, mission control may not be the ones to ultimately service that ticket. Your rules in the system may say that if it's for a medium and low priority between business hours, our job is to review the ticket and get it to one of your tech team members, right? But we've marked it in such a way where now your team is going to get it appropriately. Or you might say, use for medium priorities, use this guy's calendar and this guy's calendar. For criticals, use this guy's calendar, right? Or you might say if it's critical, just give it to mission, but for the rest of the priorities, then give it to these people. So you can set the rules for what we do and how we do it. But mission control ultimately may not, especially if you're just like, because mission control is so piecemeal where you can say you just have the dispatch service, or you just have technical service, or you just have service coordinator, or you have a blend, depending on what your blend is, we may not be doing technical service for you at all. This may be the only thing we do for you.
Gotcha. So are you guys also managing like SLA requirements against this? So if something starts like falling out of 15, 30 minute, does this service come back and say, hey guys, what's up? Like, we need to escalate this. Obviously, you're not the right people. Or how does this, like, would that fold in there at all?
Yes and no. So obviously if it comes to mission control, then the SLA is going to be upheld because we do that internally. If it's on your people, sorry, just to answer your question. Yes, this is being recorded. Yes, you'll get the recording. Yeah, no worries. But if it goes to your people, we are not watching your tickets after they've been delegated. We're kind of assuming your rules are right. However, my suggestion is if you have technical services with us, to have a rule like if the ticket is still new after X amount of idle time, then assign to mission control, or send an email or do something that lets your team know, right? We wouldn't be watching your staff. That's kind of next level. To know that Joe from your team is on site at a client, he's going to be an hour and a half late because something went wrong with the on-site and now he can't handle a ticket. Meanwhile, it got put on his calendar because that was available and that was what we were told to do. It's that kind of stuff that we're just not going to be able to manage.
Gotcha. Okay. Makes sense. Thank you.
And that's actually a really good use case, right? Like, just to show kind of the limitations of where this ends. Like, I can't know that if Joe had booked an hour on site and then had 2 hour window afterwards, and I booked an appointment for him because that's what our rule was, but Joe is running late, he's now got to contact that. He's got to look at his calendar and, manage that for himself.
Yeah.
It would be something we'd be able to do.
Cool. Thanks, Jason.
These are all great questions, guys. Keep them coming.
Hi, Jason. This is Manning. Jason, is there any interaction with the coordinator? Are we allowed to talk to them?
So we've talked about that internally as to how that works. So I'd like to ask you for your use case.
Well, it's just that sometimes, I mean, when I give a ticket to my technician in-house, a lot of times we'll talk about the ticket before they do it, especially when it could be a new customer, just there's a lot of situations. But, we struggle with that with you because we don't have that interaction. And if now we have a coordinator, it seems like that would be, that situation would happen more often.
Still trying to understand the use case. So you've got a ticket that's come in. You've got a ticket, maybe, well, it wouldn't be a ticket. You've got a case that the coordinator is not made aware of that has to become a ticket that has to be serviced, or?
No, maybe it's a customer calls in and or a ticket is created, and it's something that I would like to discuss how I want it approached before the work is done.
Okay, so fine. So let's talk about it. So there's two ways that a call is going to come in, which is your example. One is you're using Mission Control's dispatch service. So we're the ones that are going to be answering the phone call. So we answer the phone. If you're already doing dispatch with us, we probably have a fair amount of rules and set up for you already, where we know for these clients and for these scenarios, and you've got rules and ticket instructions. So we're going to follow those. Ticket gets made, comes through the coordinators. Again, similar idea. We've already got that level of integration. So I'm going to presume for your question, we're not on dispatch. And you've got a phone call that your team has taken and they have made that ticket, or they're going to call into us to make that ticket, but they want some specific direction. Because usually what happens is from the time of ticket creation, again, if you think about the flow, dispatch, coordinator, tech, dispatch, whether it be your internal team or us, is taking that phone call, ticket is made. From the second that ticket's made to the time it gets reviewed by our coordinator service is moments. It's very fast. We'll likely see it well ahead of you unless you're watching for something like that. But if you were to find it, there's always a couple of different ways to go. Number one, like I said, we're talking about making a way for you to be able to communicate via Microsoft Teams. The problem is, I feel like if I open that up, there's going to be some abuse that happens there, and I'm not loving the idea. We tried that with the tech side, and it was just. We have particular emails set up like ticket status, where ticket status would pop up everyone that's in your pod within our system. So in Liftoff, if you send an email to ticket status and you're a registered partner, what'll happen is literally everyone in your pod who's on shift at that moment gets a big notice in their thing from the update. That would be the best way, from my opinion, for you to let us know something very time sensitive as part of the ticket review. If you didn't catch it on time, which I'm going to be honest, feels like that would be 90% of the time because of how quick this is going to happen.
Mhm.
So call happens, ticket gets made. Moments later, the ticket's been reviewed and is already wherever it has to be. And you catch it at that point, you're probably making the modification already in your ticket, or you're using ticket status anyway, or putting an internal note in the ticket because that's when our team's going to service it. Did that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's just that I struggle with that a little bit. I mean, you know, let's just all listen to the rest of the presentation.
Okay, but Manning, if you want to stay on at the end, I'd like to go through that use case with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. Any other questions about how this is intended to work? Okay, so generally speaking, what we see in our space is, you know, kind of an all or nothing, and mission control never works that way. We're always very piecemeal. This is going to be no different. If this is something that you are a partner with us or are not, you do not need, you can have this as your own isolated service. It does not need to be part of dispatch. It does not need to be part of this tech name. It can be, again, parceled in, but it can also be on its own. We're offering it as its own individual service. And I mentioned Launchpad a couple of times because one of the things that MSPs may also be using is our Launchpad service. I'll demo it quickly. And just going back to the other case, it's still a demo system. But this is a good opportunity for you to see Launchpad. And Launchpad is going to look very, very similar to Liftoff because it kind of is. So here is Launchpad. Okay. So it looks the same. What we did about a year ago is we kind of had the vision of building a tool that would sit on top of, not replace, but on top of an MSP's PSA. In this case, it's an Autotask MSP. And this is an MSP's vision of what the ticketing looks like. Now, they've actually customized their view. Like, they don't actually have the words in progress. They have actively working now. They've got pause tickets and scheduled tickets, but they have essentially a dashboard that is next level to what I think a PSA can really offer, because it's a one pager for everything that an MSP would ever need for everything that's going on in their ticket life today. This is where your service coordinator, if you had one, would live. Obviously, if you don't have one and we're the only ones doing it, that's fine. And you don't need Launchpad to have our service coordinator service. This is an extra thing. But if this is interesting to you, this allows an MSP to see what every team member is working on, how long they've been working on, what they've been working on, what their skill level is, every detail about it. It's where the technicians request the tickets they're supposed to work on. I mentioned earlier, I'm not a fan of pick and choose. I don't like technicians to decide what tickets they work. I want the system to decide. So when a ticket gets reviewed, and you can see the same review check mark too, these tickets are reviewed. These tickets were actually reviewed by Mission Control's Coordinator Service. But as an MSP that uses Launchpad, I get to see it in here, and I can have my own actions for scheduling my own stuff and pausing tickets. I can assign a ticket to mission control. I can push the ticket to a particular tech. If I've got the integrated phone system, I can do that. I can easily mark this ticket as a different status, and I can go to add time entries and notes right from here. I don't need to go into PSA. This gives me much more control of what my team can do. But once a ticket is verified, and let's say it was verified to have a junior level technician to work on it, my tech team is going to go here and press the button to request their next ticket. When they press it, if they are a qualified person and they've been potted to either everyone or particular clients, because you can do that as well, they will now get the only tickets and the next ticket in order, just like Mission Control does, of what they're supposed to get. And when we do order, we're ordering by things like, you know, they have VIP or not, what's the ticket priority, obviously SLA, but things like SLA, like, have we spoken to them already? Is it a critical situation? There's all kinds of scenarios, and it's going to order everything in the order, not that it came in, but in the order that it came in and the review results. Okay, so if you're a Launchpad user, and again, this isn't really a Launchpad demo, but if you're a Launchpad user, Launchpad is literally the thing that we use in Liftoff internally, made now for an MSP. And so if you're using our service coordinator service, you can do that on its own, but you also get some extra benefits now, because now once it's reviewed in here, then you do your own thing. Okay. Launchpad's going to need its own demo because this thing's kind of big, but it's really powerful. And again, from a service coordinator perspective, which is what this demonstration is for, this is the guts of it. You can actually organize this by technician as opposed to by status. So these are by statuses and queues by default, but you can actually organize it by person. You can even break it down by person and then their statuses. And again, for each person, you can, like, I can just click on this ticket and change the status, mark it complete, do whatever I got to do. Like, I can do pretty well anything I need to do from here. Time entries notes can be done from here. Pushing it to mission control if we need it to be done from here. So there's, but the key thing about this is I'll know what everyone is working on, for how long they've been working, what ticket they're working on. I know everything about them, and they don't get to pick and choose their own tickets, which is my biggest thing. The system will give them their ticket. They simply ask the system for a ticket. And because of all those actions, the system knows a technician's efficiency. So I know the time from when they ask for a ticket, accept a ticket, log a note or time entry, and then ask for the next one. And it keeps track of the gaps in between. So I know that in an 8-hour workday, if someone's working 2.5 hours on average, I have a problem. That's just a little bit about Launchpad. So again, want to open it up for some questions, and then we're probably done the demo, but happy to go through anything on Liftoff, Launchpad, Service Coordinator as a Service, happy with anything. And just to open up a little bit of the maybe the can of worms, Mr. Sybil, there's definitely some AI here. So yeah. Although I haven't seen the one you mentioned, so I'm not sure about that. I'll just take a look at it. Anyways, questions, please, feedback, anything you'd like.
Jason, I have a question.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, I came in a little bit late, so I just want to make sure maybe this is redundant, but I heard you talk about service coordinator taking telephone calls. What's the use case for email tickets?
So actually, it's not for taking phone calls, because that'd be our dispatch service.
Okay.
So in normal, and we work together, right? So you know that when a phone call would come in, if you're forwarding that call, because you always want your end users calling your company, not us. When they call you, if you're forwarding those calls to your special number we give to you, it's our dispatch team that would answer that call. Their job is to answer the call 24/7, ask all the right questions, make a really strong ticket in your PSA.
Okay.
That ticket is now in your PSA, just like anything an end user might email in, an RMM alert, anything. They're all just tickets in your PSA. Any of those tickets that would come to mission control, by default, if we were doing technical service, they would be reviewed by our coordinator team. So now what we're doing is we're opening up our coordinator team to you for your own internal tickets that you're not having mission control support.
So if the reason I came on this phone call is because I've been looking for a way to get somebody other than people on my team to take all of the email tickets and make sure all the correct information is captured, and then forward them to the right queues so that the people can work on them. So is that what this service is meant to do?
You nailed it. That's one of the top use cases we get asked for. Yep.
So between dispatch and service coordinator, that replaces all of the administrative side of dispatching tickets for me. And all I have to do is run techs. And then if
It's-
and then I know I can use your techs if I need more techs, but that's not really where my head is at. I'm really on the what do we do about managing dispatch and service coordination?
Yeah, on the non-technical roles, and I'm not talking about like procurement and accounting. On the non-technical roles, for service delivery and service intake, our dispatch team would be the ones to answer the phones. And that would be for all phone calls that you would forward to us. Our
Yep.
coordinators up until this demo have been only able to review tickets that we would service internally for your technical service. But now we're going to be able to review all of your tickets, regardless of where they come from, in other words, email or otherwise. And we can do pretty well whatever you'd want to do with them, whether it be assign them to a group of techs on your team, schedule
Send them to a queue, whatever it is. But
Got it.
the
Yeah.
important part is type and subtype, priority, interacting with the client if more detail is needed.
So Steve, I'll send you the, well, everyone's going to get the recording of this. And I actually showed what the ticket review window looks like of the properties that we go through, and obviously priority, issue type, sub issue type. But there's a whole bunch of non-ticket properties that also get assigned that you can take advantage of based on the rules manager.
And it seems to me that there might be some benefit to the dashboard you just presented and the business process of not letting techs pick tickets, which
Yeah,
is
I mean,
what we do today, and it doesn't work. And I've just never found a good way to make it go away. So, because I've tried the service coordinator assigns everything process, and that didn't work either.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So I'm interested in learning a lot more about those two things.
Yeah, no, thank you, Steve. We'll touch base afterwards, no problem.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, my pleasure. Any other questions, folks? No? Go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah. The launch pad, is that something that's like a license that's separate from like the coordinator? Because I know things piecemeal. You may have said this, but I didn't receive it. But is it like how do we
So-
get access to Launchpad?
Yeah, it's its own independent thing. So I will say, unfortunately or fortunately, so the Launchpad tool works beautifully right now only for Autotask PSA MSPs.
Okay.
It's next integration, and I know there's another guy in here, I think it's Todd. He's been waiting for the ConnectWise one, which is supposed to come out in September.
Okay.
And so in September you'll have that, and then I think Halo is going to be next. Once we get the first one done, it was like, yeah, I see it, Todd, thanks. Once we get the first one done, obviously the rest is just kind of easy because we've got the rest of the integrations already done for liftoff, but we had to get through the first one and put it through a really intense beta test. So it is on its own.
Okay.
I know that you folks are waiting on pricing, so I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about that. So with our minimum spends, we always have our minimum spend. We don't really care where that comes from. So if you're already on minimum spend, this would be something that it's going to be an easy add-on. With respect to pricing, just so we're clear about the a la carte, I'm not talking about monthly minimum commitments or anything like that, just a la carte. If you think about the cost of reviewing a ticket, it's going to be a $5 cost. So it's $5 a ticket. It's not, we're going to probably review that later on just to see how we're doing, because again, it's a new service. But if you commit to it, we're going to keep your pricing. So if you think about it, if you're going to send us 10 tickets a day or 100 tickets a day, whatever, but none of those prices should ever be more expensive than you hiring a full-time service coordinator. It's not intended to. It's meant to be less expensive significantly. So if you do the math on what you're doing right now, first of all, if you've already got a full-time person, this is just redundancy. It's just failover. So the volume is going to be very, very, very low. And obviously worth the money in that case, because now you've got that service. If you don't have a service coordinator on staff and you're looking to do that, or perhaps consider this as the alternative, think about what you have in salary and then understand that person, just like, we always argue the outsource argument. People take vacation, people get sick, people leave, people whatever. So that's kind of the argument. But it also, if you take a look at your ticket volume, this is the big thing. Take a look at your ticket volume, multiply that out by, and again, you don't need to send every ticket to us. You're not going to send a ticket to us that's for a sales opportunity. But if they're a technical ticket and it comes to us, it'll be $5 a ticket to start. questions, feedback?
Yeah,
Steve's
I'm sorry, I've got, yeah, my
No.
camera came back on because I have another question. And
Sure.
so do you currently have any technology built into any of the tools that you're working with? Here's the use case I'm worried about. I'm worried about the 680 tickets a day that come in from alerting systems that really need to be automated away, and I'm working on that so that your service coordinators can focus on the customer facing tickets. Because I don't want to pay $5 a ticket for the automated shit.
I love your question.
So do you have a solution for that? I assume you do by your smile. So
I do. So there's a few things.
Okay,
So
cool.
first of all, we have I'd say 3 or 4 different technologies that we've leveraged in here that we didn't build, although the AI is one that we did build. So in other words, we've got ownership of it, which was very important. With respect to something like Traceless, as an example, that we use for the end user verifications and password deliveries, we partner with Traceless on that. Every instance of Launchpad comes with that. So that wouldn't be anything additional. You wouldn't have to go to them. It's already kind of in there, which is really, really lovely. But from the AI perspective, which I think is what you're talking about here, what we're able to do before any of the AI does its analysis is do a filter. And the filter is customizable, and you can, so you picture like Autotask queues or ConnectWise boards or even current statuses. We can say before AI touches this, we're going to filter out all that other stuff and only review things that are in these queues or these boards or these statuses or these whatever. So we're only going to get the other stuff, and everything else we're just not touching. We leave it alone, right? So it doesn't affect your count. I hope that was the end. I got a thumbs up. Steve didn't turn his camera back on, so I think he's happy. Yeah. Happy to answer any other questions, folks. Kevin.
So if we have like endpoint slash user assigned devices, can service coordination go into those accounts, or is it kind of like, is it more service coordination has to be, I can't remember if you said it was all or nothing, or if it was like, I mean, because we're kind of piecemealed right now where we're trying to move to like all of our devices and users being in the per device pricing. And so where does service coordination fall versus it being a la carte? Like, where does that fall in the all you can eat model?
I'm kind of having trouble if you're asking from your perspective or ours.
Well, pricing is service coordination ever gonna get included in, is it all a la carte time based, if we want to enroll in it, or can that be added in the all you can eat kind of like per user device?
Oh, sorry. You're talking about if you're using like tech services for mission control?
Yeah, right. Yeah, if we're using
Oh.
dispatch and tech services already,
So
like,
let me clarify that one's a good one. Sorry, I maybe assumed. Okay, so any ticket that you're assigning to mission control for service, the
Mhm.
coordinator's service is already happening, has already been happening, and you don't pay extra for that.
Okay,
This
cool.
service coordinator as a service is meant for tickets you are not assigning to mission control. They are internal to your MSP. Your own internal techs are working, but still need that review first. And delegation triage, right? But it's
Okay.
not, if mission control is handling it, you already got it, right? If this is
Okay,
for
cool.
your own tickets that you're not giving to us, you're working yourself.
Okay, cool. So we're kind of one leg in, one leg out kind of. So the clients that are not per user device model, they're actually just dispatch. We can set it up so that the review piece is added to those.
Yeah, so if you've just got us for dispatch, and that was, forget whose case we talked about it earlier. But in that case, we're going to take the calls. We make the tickets in your PSA, and once the tickets are there, that ticket that we made is just like any other ticket that's in your PSA that came from some other way, right? An end user sent an email, an RMM alert. They're just tickets in your PSA. If you never assign those to mission control for work, right now, our coordinators don't review it and our techs don't work it. But if you wanted to add on the coordinator piece just on its own as the coordinator service, now we'll review every single one of those tickets, make sure they're ready for service, and triage, delegate, assign, do whatever we're supposed to do so that your team works them successfully.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And again, Launchpad is another next step where like Now they're not even looking for a ticket to work. They literally ask the system, can I have my next ticket? And the system gives them exactly what it should, right?
Nice.
One of the things I love about Launchpad, I'm sorry, I didn't want this to turn into a Launchpad thing, is I love the fact that I can set a maximum number of tickets that a technician can work. Because I don't like them having 20 tickets that they're working, they never finish anything. So they can
Right.
request a ticket, they work it. But let's say that they request a ticket, they did something, they didn't enter their time, and then they didn't close it, didn't change the status. They go to ask for a next ticket. If my limit is reached, let's say 2, the system will tell them, sorry, you can't work another ticket till you close off or added a notes and time entry to your last one, right? So it literally restricts the technician from being, you know, all over the place and having way too much on their plate, to very scoped, very focused. They work on only what they're supposed to, which is system delegated, and then they have to finish what they're working on, or at least make an update that the team can see. How often are time entries missed,
Right.
right? So,
Nice.
Steve, you turn on your camera again, getting nervous.
Yeah, I just don't want to hijack your presentation, but you said pods earlier.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of the trouble I ran into the last time I tried this model. I'm just interested in, are the pods per MSP client or per MSP? And what are the size parameters of the pods?
So again, I need to know if you're talking from your perspective using
My
Launchpad.
my client's perspective, how many different people could they end up talking to if your technicians are working the tickets? So a proactive client calls in and gets a ticket dispatched and service coordinated, gets assigned to mission control for whatever business rule assigns it to mission control. It goes into their pod. What are the parameters? What are the maximum and minimum sizes of a pod? And is that defined on the per MSP basis in your business model, or is it per client of the MSP per MSP basis?
So in Mission Control's world, when we have an MSP partner,
Yep.
we always pod our team so that we have the same groups of people always working your client's tickets. Better for you also because it's good for client familiarity.
Yeah,
Better
and
for us
so that's what
because that
that's what I'm
builds
driving to. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm driving to. What's the
pod
size?
size is gonna, well, first of all, the pod is made up of all skill levels, right? So
Right.
obviously dispatch coordinator, junior, intermediate, senior.
Yep.
Those are staffed around the clock. The size of the pod and the number of resources per each of those skill levels depends on what you're having us do. So just to give you an example, if you're having 30 hours a month is different than 100. If you were
Right.
doing devices, if you were doing servers and all you're doing was servers and you had 40 servers versus 400 servers. So it's a lousy answer because it knows not what you're after, but the pod is flexible and dynamically sized to the commitment from you.
What's the maximum number of level 1 help desk people that a customer is going to see in a pod?
Okay, in a standard 10-hour commitment, so let's say an MSP asks for 10 hours of help desk from us,
Yep.
you would typically have between 14 to 16 people. And keep in mind that that's daytime, evening, nighttime, 7 days with redundancy at all the skill levels. So but during the day, as an example, you're always speaking to the same 3, 4, 5. If it was Saturday night, you're always speaking to the same 2, 3.
So that's what I'm drilling. It's like 8:30 to 5:30, Monday through Friday. Customers call into the help. That the business issue that I've been fighting with is, right, and I think every MSP faces this, is I can't have enough people on my help desk team to pick up the phone and work on a ticket right away for anybody. And so we're constantly playing the SLA management game. And I don't know what everybody else thinks about this, but I think that there's a real competitive advantage to be had if people can call and get a technician first call. But I don't know how to deliver it with my own people because they also won't pay enough for me to staff to the level that I would need to staff to be able to do first call technician assistance. And so I'm really interested in solving for that.
I mean, you're kind of, and I don't, sorry, Steve, I just don't want to turn this into
no. Maybe we can talk separately, but that's what's on my mind.
No, but I can relate because so one of the things that, you know, I don't think it's a secret. Mission Control has always been the only company out there that does what we do where we don't have direct to tech. And I still argue it's the wrong way to do direct to tech because similar to all the examples I gave earlier, when you do direct to tech, you're going to have longer wait times. And to the point of today's webinar, you're most likely reaching the wrong person after waiting too long. Okay. So you're reaching an unqualified person and you waited longer to do it. In our world, we have this thing called, oh my God, what is it called? Holy smokes. I forget what it's called, it'll come to me in a minute. But it's a set of circumstances that we consider to be urgent where the user cannot work and quick fixes. Okay. And so what we do is once the dispatcher has made the ticket for those cases, we offer the caller 3 items. We can either offer to schedule the ticket at a time that's convenient for them. We can call them back as the first callback in our spot, or they can wait on hold for the first available tech. But if they choose that one, we literally put them on hold and transfer them to the next available skill level appropriate tech member in their pod. Okay. It's not direct to tech. It still has the dispatch, but it's effectively the next best thing. Streamline tickets, that's what we call it. Wow. So streamline tickets, when it's any of those scenarios, we still have dispatch make the ticket, but then we transfer it directly to the next tech. Our Launchpad system supports that. We do that internally for tickets that are sent to mission control. But internally to your own, it's something to work out similarly, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you that you don't want it to go direct to tech. That wasn't really what I meant to imply. But I want them to be able to get transferred to a tech if the circumstances call for it, right? So that they can get help without having to hang up the phone and wait, right? Because our response times are 15 minutes in a really good case, 30 minutes to an hour typically. And our customers are trained to enjoy that and expect that. But I think we can do better, and I aspire to do better.
Right. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
And we can talk on a strategy call if you want another time. All right. Anyone else got questions today?
One more question.
Yeah.
We're ConnectWise Shop. We use Streamline IT. How does this fit into the overall plans with Launchpad?
Describe for me your current setup. Sorry.
We have a client. We're using Streamline IT, so they have they're in the same board, but they only see their own tickets for their staff. They can respond to them and act on them. This ties back into Thread also. And that's, how does this fit in Launchpad? So I can see in Thread, I can see their tickets, and they have their own view of Thread, and they can see all the board, their staff. I can see everything from all our customers. Will Launchpad allow me to, using the ConnectWise Streamline IT, have that customer see only their stuff?
Have the customer see only their stuff.
Correct, their tickets.
Well, it's not. This is not a client portal. If that's what.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Okay,
not that. I think.
Nope.
I think ultimately maybe one day it can be that, but that's not. It's not designed for that. This is meant totally internal right now.
Got it. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Nicholas asked a question earlier, is the Launchpad portal access granted through the normal technical services package or service coordinator service? It's neither really, it's kind of on its own. So it's something that you wanted as an isolated thing, that's something that's available to you. My pleasure. So like I said, in the next, well, definitely within the next 24 hours, you're going to get an email of some of the stuff that I teased about today. The service coordinator's service is live. Yes, Manny, that's correct. But again, Manny, if you want to stay on afterwards, we can chat. You're getting an email of some of the stuff we teased about, but obviously coordinator service is the big thing today. Just to recap, up until today, if you had mission control tech services, you were getting this anyway. Any ticket you assign to mission control is already being reviewed and has been for forever. Been reviewed by our coordinator team and then gets delegated off to our technicians after the full ticket has been qualified, reviewed, appropriately assigned. Everything is perfect with that ticket. Now what we're offering is the ability for you to have our coordinators review your tickets that you're not intending to send to us. We can filter them out ahead of time so that you're only having us filter the right tools, the right tickets. But this way, with a combination of tools and our team's skill sets, they're reviewing everything, making sure the ticket is right, and the end result being either a delegate to one of your technicians, some other escalation step, informing people, making a call, whatever it is. So hopefully you see value in the coordinator service. If that or Launchpad or any of the other stuff we talked about today is interesting, please feel free to let me know. You guys know how to reach me, but I will put it in the chat anyway. Control. I think I have this ready. And obviously, thank you for registering for today. You're going to get a copy of the recording. So if you have questions after watching it again or listen to it again, just feel free to reach out. I actually took the whole hour. I didn't think I would. But thank you so much for your time today. I really, really appreciate it. I'm happy to stay on for anyone who actually wants to continue the conversation. I've got time. Thank you.